It's the Poojie Podcast, proudly sponsored by Cimarron Golf Club.
What is going on, Pooj Crew? We're doing something a little different today. I know you've seen me a couple times on here, but we are starting with a Euro 2020 recap. So joining me today is actually another Justin, not the one that you're used to, but a guy that I work with at Orlando City. So we're going to go through all of our first round takes on everything that's happened for the first games of the Euro 2020. So without further ado, Group A, start us off. We got Turkey, Italy, 3-0 Italy.
First, just want to say thanks for having me on here, Kyle. Kicking off the tournament. Italy, traditionally a nice power, obviously missed out on some stuff, World Cup, and I believe the previous Euros I missed out on too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Turkey coming off a good, last stretch of games for, I think it was qualifying
We were super high on them. I was going to say that was one of the things that was buzzing around the office was that Turkey was on quite the win streak, but so was Italy coming into this. So it looks like instead of Turkey being the dark horse, I don't know if that's still the storyline coming out of this.
Yeah, after today, which I'm sure we'll get to today's game, Italy's looking like an absolute train right now. So I don't know who's going to stop them. But yeah, I was very high on Turkey, more of on the gambling side. The odds were very, very tempting for maybe a little upset action. But Turkey came out with an okay game plan, kind of parked the bus and counter, and it worked well for the first half until they had own goal. Early, I think it was pretty early in the second half, and that kind of just killed it from there. Italy went on to pretty much light them up from that point moving forward.
Yeah, and we're kind of cheating ahead of time. This is the same day that the second round just started, so we did get to see Italy win another game 3-0 today. Yeah. So a little bit of bias on that side as well, but they look like a very strong team going into the next round. But I guess we'll hop right into Wales, Switzerland. So Gareth Bale leading that Wales team again here. What do you think of kind of what they look like? Because those are both kind of underwhelming teams that could kind of have the potential to get some upsets in there.
Yeah, each team has some guys on there that, play for big clubs. I would say just looking team to team, Switzerland's maybe a little bit more balanced, maybe some more names known compared to Wales. And it was pretty nothing too big in the first half of that game. But then early in the second half, Embolo came on with a nice goal. He was just gliding through the defense in that second half there, and had, I think, one or two other chances to, kind of lock the game up. And Switzerland kind of around the 70th minute or so decided to just park the bus a little bit. And Wales came back, and I believe, I don't know his first name, Moore came in and scored a header.
He looks like he's going to be pretty good for him too. I'm not even sure what club team he plays for, but that's actually I know you're mentioning Embolo too. I love watching the Euros and international tournaments because you always see those guys that aren't really as appreciated on their club teams because they may be playing on the lower league teams, but end up destroying people on when they have the national team and the other club players that are on bigger teams supporting them. So I think that Embolo could be going to another team after the Euros. I think that there's a lot of other guys, and I'm sure we'll get into some of the games later. If you want to just highlight some of your stars for the future to kind of watch for that transfer market.
I mean, this is I love the Euros for the same thing you mentioned. You have these nations that aren't superpowers that are producing major talent all the time, and you have some guys that you come across on FIFA and you're like, oh, this guy's got an absolute beast on FIFA.
Yeah, he's got 94 pace, so we got
exactly. So I'm sitting there pulling up a FIFA app, looking up their stats. I'm like, oh yeah, I can add him on my career mode team, and he has some good potential. But going back to more on Wales, I heard a stat. He plays in the championship, I'm pretty sure, for Cardiff, and he led the championship in headed goals last year, and that's the goal that he had as well. So
you want that guy on your team, especially in the 90th minute. You put him in as a super sub, and that was the guy that had his forehead was bleeding too, so he ended up going to wrap his head, and still ended up scoring a header. So all right, I'm definitely he's one to watch later in the tournament. The crazy story coming out of the first week of games here, the Denmark-Finland game. When I say my heart stopped, I can honestly say I think even fans who aren't fans of soccer, finding out about that, absolutely horrific. For those who don't know, Christian Eriksen, their star midfielder for Denmark, plays for Inter Milan, ended up just collapsing horrifyingly to watch in the middle of the pitch, had cardiac arrest. The doctor said that he was actually gone, that they had to fully resuscitate him to get him back and in good shape there. Thankfully, he's doing better. He's in the hospital recovering, was able to talk with his teammates, but Wow. That was kind of one of those moments where, I mean, obviously horrifying for him, but it's kind of great to see the entire, almost world come together just to kind of support him in that moment. Everyone was tweeting about it. Everyone was just giving their support. And thankfully, we avoided watching a real tragedy. I was just kind of disgusted to see them kind of, zone in on his wife, crying on the sideline. Props to their captain, who I know that Barstow and some other people already covered, like saved him from swallowing his tongue, was one of the first people over there to make sure his neck was stabilized. But just obviously something that you can never be prepared for. But I don't know. How do you think that's going to affect them going forward? Obviously it is.
Well, I just want to start by saying, like, obviously you don't want that ever to happen to anyone. But when, you see it's like a player like Eriksen, like nothing ever bad comes out about that guy. And he seems like he's a very nice guy, and all his teammates like him wherever he goes. So it was like, no, not Eriksen. And like, it was like 10 minutes or so like that this was going on. And you're like, wait, like, is he actually like dying here? Is he dead? What is going on? Luckily, later on finding out. Yeah, it was kind of like a little foggy as to what actually happened by the time they got him off the field. But it was good to see that he was up and they pulled him off, and soon after to see that he was, at least in good enough shape for himself. But Denmark was dominating that game before that happened. And I mean, that obviously would take the wind out of anyone, and it took it out of both teams there.
For sure. And for people that don't know, they basically gave the Danish team three options. They said either A, you can forfeit and just give the other team a 3-0 win, which is an awful option. And in my opinion, I don't think they ever would have chosen that. But the other two were to either finish the game later that day or play later that week on Sunday. And they ended up choosing to continue once they kind of got word that he was doing better. But man, you could tell that they were not in it. They got a PK to tie it up in the like around the 90th minute there, and missed that PK as well. So I think that they're definitely going to be looking to kind of rally around him, and they could be, who knows, maybe they end up coming together and rallying with him as the the main impetus behind that, and get some points off of him. They got a really tough game coming up against Belgium, but I mean that kind of transitions well into the next match. They didn't know. His club teammate Romelu Lukaku didn't know if he was going to be even able to play. I mean, because that's one of his best friends on his club team. So I think like when he scored, he ran right over to the camera and he said, "Chris, I love you, man." Like, so this is something that's been kind of cool to see the soccer community kind of come together for it. But let's just hope this is the last kind of crazy thing we'll see like that for this tournament, and we can kind of just move on to enjoying the rest of the rounds. Because I props to the medical team and props to everyone on that side, because they acted quick. But that Belgium-Russia game, I mean, Belgium's the #1 team for a reason. They came out there and they whooped those guys 3-0. I mean, I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. Like we mentioned, their next game's against Denmark, and I feel bad for the Danish team because, those guys are not stopping. They just got De Bruyne back as well. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't catch too much of the game against Russia just because of all the Eriksen Denmark stuff going on. Yeah. But like you said, Lukaku scoring early. And then I think one of the Belgian guys, I think Timmy Castagna from Leicester, got a pretty bad knock there. He's out for the rest of the tournament. But I'm pretty sure the game was played in Moscow as well, and they completely dominated Russia on their home turf. Which isn't shocking when you know how those teams look, player-wise.
Well, speaking of home field advantage here, what is going on with this? First off, if you guys don't know, and if you have no idea who I am, this should be all that you need to see. Croatia's amazing, and obviously I'm supporting them. They had to play an extremely good and talented England team at home in London, and that game was only 1-0. Definitely, like, we missed our chances on our end there, but I think the main story that came out of it was, holy shit, England is so talented and their manager has no idea what to do with it. Gareth Southgate is basically just like, go out there, have fun, and I'm just going to hope for the best. But I think that they can win a handful of games on pure talent alone. But if they don't figure out how to just put it together as a team, I don't know if they're going to go farther than, quarterfinals at this point.
Yeah, England almost pulled in England, and I think they haven't won a first-round game of the Euros. Maybe
no, I don't think they've ever. I think that was their first one. Yeah.
Yeah. So they got off to a great start in some England-like fashion, where they're barely pulling away with a victory. But Croatia's a good team. They have a bunch of really solid players and some world-class players as well. But like you said, England's full of talent. That talent eventually prevailed, even with some questionable managing and game plan. We'll see if they make any adjustments moving forward.
Well, hey, I think the biggest story coming out of that was everyone was trashing the lineup and inclusion of Calvin Phillips as their main center defensive mid. And I'll be damned if you didn't put in the man of the match performance, had the beautiful assist to Sterling for the goal. I can't believe I think he's going to be starting for the rest of the tournament if he continues playing like that, because I mean, he looked like he was way more experienced than he is. I think is he a teenager? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's like either early 20s or
he's quite that young. I think he's a little older.
Because is he in Liverpool or
he plays for Leeds.
Oh no, he is Leeds. Yeah,
I'm looking right now. He's 25. So he's a little older, but I mean, he's been playing on Leeds in the Championship, and I think I told you this the other day. But
I was gonna say, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if this tournament was played last year like it was supposed to be, he was on Leeds United, who was playing in the Championship at that time. He would not have been on the roster for England, but no doubt. Like, they don't pull up guys from the Championship. They have too much talent in the Premier League. And
absolutely not. And so you heard it here first. If the Euros were played when they were supposed to, Croatia wins that game handily. That's all I'm going to say. But we'll move on to the next one. So Austria, North Macedonia. We'll do that one really quick. I don't think anyone's really looking for the hot takes on that one. North Macedonia, congrats for being in the tournament. Goran Pandev, he's probably going to get a couple goals here and there. But I think they're more just happy to be in the tournament at this point.
Yeah, their first ever tournament. Yeah, first ever major tournament. They're just happy to be there. They were up 1-0, I think, at one point, right? Or tied it?
Yeah, I know they tied it at one point, and then I think they ended up dropping a couple more goals on him. Yeah. David Alaba looks really good for Austria. Obviously, we know what he could do for Bayern. He's moving to Real Madrid in the offseason here, but I'm definitely not looking forward to that transfer. But Netherlands, Ukraine. So I think one of the main stories, and especially with the Netherlands missing the last World Cup cycle, and then also potentially the Euros, and then them just having so much talent. And for some reason, they can't put it together. And Frank de Boer, I think, is probably the worst coach I think I've ever seen in my entire life. He failed upward at almost every job. He failed overseas in England. He comes over to Atlanta. He turns a very talented Atlanta team, which we're not complaining as Orlando City guys. We love to see the destruction of those guys up north. So that was hilarious to watch, and then somehow gets promoted to the national team after completely ruining everything that they had going with Tata Martino. So I mean, like they had that game, and then all of a sudden Yarmolenko with an absolute beauty of a curler to get them back in the game, and then all of a sudden it's 2-2. And now, like, the worry starts setting in. So if they're already giving up, goals and giving up these late goals to the Ukraine, I don't think it looks good for them going forward.
Yeah, this might have been the game of the first round, just in terms of like excitement factor of the game, being down 2-0 and Ukraine coming back. And the Dutch love the 4-3-3, and he refuses to play that formation. He wants to play 5 at the back for whatever reason. And I mean, hey, Dumfries came in and scored the goal at the end from, that left wing back spot. So we got him through the first game. I mean, Ukraine is not top competition. They have some, stars here or there. But yeah, it's really unique situation there, and where a major nation like that trying to come back after being down, and they're playing a very interesting formation for the players that they have. So
for sure. I don't know who they play. Let me see if I got it on my sheet
Austria.
Here. Oh, they play Austria.
Actually tomorrow.
Yeah. So I mean that could be a good, I think that's more of a 2-2 type of game, just because I think Austria is just going to play them well, because I don't think the Netherlands can close out games. I think they'll give up a late goal to end up tying that. But heading into the next one with potentially the goal of the tournament in the first round. Wow, Czech Republic, Scotland. That game, Patrick, or is it Patrick Schick?
Schick, I think it's Schick. Yeah. He plays for plays in Germany.
Yeah, absolutely took over that game. That goal, just the presence of mind to notice the goalkeeper that far off his line, and the curl on that ball in the air
is ridiculous.
Perfect, because if that ball's anywhere else, either the keeper's getting back in time or it's in the post. But it's just unbelievable. So hey, if that's what we have to look forward to from the first round, then I guess we got plenty more to go here still.
That was a major letdown for Scotland too, because people are pretty high on them compared to previous seasons, because they have some top guys on there. They've got Tierney from Arsenal,
McTominay.
They've got Robertson from Liverpool, McTominay from Man U. They have some guys on that team, and I if I'm not mistaken, they played that game in Scotland also. So in front of your home crowd, losing like that. not a great way to start the tournament. And I'm pretty sure they're playing England next. And
it's only going to get harder for them from there. That was their warm-up game because they've got Croatia and England to look forward to on the next games, and I don't think it's going to get any easier for them on that side. But
that was a must-win for them, and they blew it.
Yeah, but another underwhelming game for the most part, the Poland-Slovakia game. I think the biggest story out of that, Lewandowski, as we saw online, Lewin Disney, people making fun of him now for just saying after he just broke the record for goals in a season at Bayern Munich for the Bundesliga, is now a legend in the Bundesliga over there, comes to Poland and does absolutely nothing in that game. So I think people were more than a little disappointed, I think you could say, at how that ended up turning out for him. But
yeah, I mean, obviously he's not playing with the same level of teammates around him compared to Bayern Munich. But it could just be like a bias on my part. I feel like whenever I see Poland play, he's kind of invisible. He doesn't do anything for him. My takeaway from the game, Slovakia's jerseys that they wore, my favorite jerseys of the tournament so far. I got to throw that in there. Also the solo goal. I forget. I'm going to look up the guy who scored it, but it got called as an own goal on Szczesny. I think his last name is Mack. Robert Mack scored. He dribbled around two guys on the left, cut inside, and ripped it near post, and it got counted as an own goal. But that was an awesome goal.
I give all credit of that goal to him. Yeah, I think that's like I understand why it was called an own goal, but at the same time, I think you should just give that one to him.
Yeah, and Skriniar with a nice volley to give them the lead late in the game. Watch out for Slovakia. They have some players. They looked a little exciting. Obviously, Poland's not a top team, but hey, you come away with a win in the first game of a tournament like this, that puts you in a really good spot.
Oh, of course. And then moving into the next game too, with I think that Spain right now, arguably the most disappointing entrance, other than what we talked about earlier with who was the other disappointing, the Netherlands, just with giving up the late goals. But Spain just getting so many chances again with the majority of the possession, like Spain normally does, but can't do anything with it. And with their striker up top, they don't have a Fernando Torres, they don't have a David Villa anymore. So Alvaro Morata isn't that guy. Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, he has flashes, but I just don't know if he can be that prolific goal scorer that they needed to. David Villa lifted them to win a lot of those games and created some chances out of nothing. Granted, he had some of the best midfielders in the world behind him at the time. But I think, the hot take for that one was if Isak from Sweden was switched with Morata for that game, Spain wins 3-0 by far.
I'm looking at the stats right now. Spain had 17 shots to Sweden's 4, 86% possession to 14.
And they still almost stole it. They still almost stole it at the end. They had arguably the best chance.
Yeah, and it was what was it? A clearance off the goal line that hit off the post into the keeper, was it? So that guy Isak that you said on Sweden, he looks like an interesting guy. He made some chances out of nothing. But hey, Sweden's.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we were talking about earlier, he's another one that's one of the young guys that we're going to be most likely transferred. I think he's going to be on another team by the time that this Euro is done. Especially if they don't make it out of the group stage. I think he's the one bright spot on that team right now, and it's sad that Ibrahimovic couldn't make it with his injury. I really wanted to see just one last Euro tournament with Ibra up top with there. And if him and Ibra would have been a strike partners, I think that would have been a really cool partnership to watch.
They say that Sweden doesn't really like playing with him just because it's kind of okay, you're playing with Ibrahimovic. He's got that demeanor around him, and he's always, ball goes to him. So they kind of have to play through him. But, I mean, hey, they're going to be happy with the draw after that game against Sweden moving forward.
For sure. Oh, absolutely. That's nothing but a positive result for Sweden in that. But I know we were a little nervous at first with Nani, kind of predicting the 0-0 for the Portugal game. So Portugal-Hungary was 0-0 until pretty late in the game. What was it, 75th to the 80th minute, I think was the first goal. And then they ended up adding a PK from Ronaldo.
84th minute, the first goal was scored. I'm pretty sure it had a deflection, too, from Rafael Guerreiro from Dortmund. But then, Ronaldo coming in at the end to secure it up with 2 late goals. I will say his first goal was very nice. Nice little play there inside the box, little quick passing. But the scoreline looks a lot better than the game actually played out for the vast majority.
For sure. And now Ronaldo taking over as the highest goal scorer at the Euros ever now, passing Platini, who I didn't even realize he had the record for 5 games, 9 goals. So I think Ronaldo has 11 now with those 2. So he's definitely due for at least 1 or 2 more in the rest of the group stage. So we know he's going to add to that tally. So that'll probably stay as a record for a while. But arguably the biggest game of the group stage so far, the game that everyone was circling when that first round of matchups came out, France, Germany. And wow, like what a game, but what a disappointing way to end up winning that for France.
So I just want to start with the Pogba pass. That's one of those passes where like you're looking and like, who is he passing to? There's nobody on the screen, and then you see Hernandez, the left back, just storming up the field. Perfect pass right to him. And credit to Hernandez for putting it in a dangerous spot. Ended up being an own goal from Hummels, who I will say slotted it in the upper left corner. No chance for Neuer to save that own goal. So
I will say Hummels redeemed himself with one of the best challenges you're going to see in a long time. Had to chase down an Mbappe going faster than an F1 race car down the sideline. I have never seen. Mbappe's got one of the most incredible breakaway speeds, and combining that with the fact that he's one of the best dribblers in the tournament, like I think he's going to be the best player for the next 10 years by far. And the fact that he's still so young and able to do that,
Yeah, and he also may have scored the best disallowed goal of the tournament with the couple dummies and whatever he was doing with his leg and curled it around. That was an awesome goal. Got called offside, unfortunately. But
I guess since that's the last group stage game, I guess that's a perfect transition. VAR has been getting things pretty spot on for this tournament. I think that brings up bigger questions. Why the hell do they not get it right any other time other than these major tournaments?
I feel like
the people that are reviewing this, right?
Yeah. I mean, it changes league to league what their rules are for that. I think you got to keep it basic. Like the Premier League, they're always having issues with it. They're always looking at it forever because they're trying to. It's too complicated. Just look at it. If it's obvious, if you can tell, then make the judgment. But like you said, it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the best part is that it hasn't slowed down the game because they've very rarely actually gone over to look at it themselves, especially for like offsides calls. They've been pretty quick about, reviewing it, and then he just makes the call and doesn't even need to go over to the screen. So if that's the way we have to do it and you trust the guys up in the booth, they seem to be making the right call so far. So I guess we'll see. But that pretty much wraps up the first round. I guess we'll finish it off. What is your hot take for going forward? What is a team that you think is going to absolutely collapse, and who do you think is going to be the one to win it?
Hot take moving forward. Wow. Oh man. Okay. I'll start with this. Lukaku, Golden Boot. I don't think that's too much of a hot take, but I'm going to say it now after one game. Golden Boot for Lukaku. One team that's going to fall off, I think. Ooh, that's a tough one. I might have to go with your boys here, Kyle. Croatia.
No.
I if they don't turn up in their next game, who are they playing next? They're playing. I don't see it on here. It's either Scotland or the other team.
Or Czech Republic. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Croatia for the ones that are gonna collapse here.
Damn.
And then my surprise team, I'm gonna roll with Slovakia. I like the vibe around that team. I like the players they have.
Yeah, hell yeah. I was going to say, like, I think my hot take is that after that first round performance, Spain doesn't make it out of the group. Or if they do, it's in third place. I think that's going to be my hot take here. I think that there's going to be a couple results that just do not fall their way. I think that, are they in the same group as that Poland, Slovakia? Am I looking at that right?
They are in the group with Slovakia, Sweden, and Poland are the other.
So like you were saying, Slovakia's got a chance to get some points off of them, and you never know. We were talking, we make fun of loving Disney, but that guy's got a hat trick in him at any possible moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I legitimately think like if things fall for the other teams, that Spain doesn't make it out of the group stage, and then my sleeper to go all the way, man. It's tough, but and I don't want to give the benefit of the doubt to Portugal again because I absolutely hated they went all the way in the last Euro. For those of you that don't know, they didn't win a single game in regular time. They came third place in their group, qualified on a technicality for the next round, won every game in either extra time or PKs, and then somehow ended up winning off of a ridiculous goal in the final for the last Euro. So I'm still a little salty about that. But I'm going to say with how much talent they have, if they can get it together, and especially because we didn't see a lot of those guys play and feature in the Croatia game, I think England's going to go a really long way in this tournament. I know we mentioned about Southgate, but I genuinely think that they have the most objectively, just especially with their bench, I think that some of the most talented, midfielders and forwards by far.
Yeah.
So
here's the thing: if they can get Harry Kane going, which it seems like he's very hot or not with England, but if he can start scoring goals, like there might not be a better pure striker in the tournament other than maybe Lukaku and Ronaldo. So I mean, if he gets going, then no one's going to stop England.
Absolutely. Well, either way, I think that wraps up the first round. We will probably be back for the next couple round here and definitely into the knockout stage. But thanks for sticking with us if you're watching to the end here. As always, thanks for the Pooj crew for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time, and put your predictions down below in the comments if you want us to hit us up on that. Thanks, and have a great day.